shot down. That seems like quite a low proportion. Is that at all concerning? Is that something you're going to consider as you reflect on this?
We have a response from each of the ministers, and then we'll probably have one more question and close.
Well, first, our assessment, early assessment seems to be that it was around 20 drones that were part of the attack. Our assessment was that the NATO air defences worked effectively, and we pay tribute to the Poles, the Dutch, and other NATO personnel involved. As to whether this was intentional, the effect is the same. It's tested our NATO defences. It has breached international law and sovereign airspace, and it is, whatever the intent behind it, it's dangerous. We condemn it. It's reckless, and we will reinforce where we need to NATO's air defence.
No, nothing to add.
Final question, CNN.
Nick Walsh from CNN. A lot of your discussion has been about bolstering defences and how you'd respond in the event of this occurring again. But how do you stop it happening again? How do you stop it happening next week? What is the deterrent that you're able to present here to change the Kremlin's thinking, who may today be thinking they've launched drones into NATO and nothing so far has happened?
Ultimately, the big deterrent for President Putin is a NATO that is now more united, a NATO that is now bigger than when he launched his full-scale attack on Ukraine, and a NATO that is determined to raise still further the level of defence investment in order to strengthen our deterrence and our defence against Russia and against other adversaries. Our response to Putin at this point is to say to him, we will stand together, seeing the E5 nations, Europe's biggest defence spenders, more united, more determined, as we report to you after our discussions today. It's part of our signalling to Putin that the steps he's taking, the aggression that he's mounting, is having counterproductive effects. It makes us stronger, it makes us more determined, and it makes us more united to deter him in the future.
Colleagues, thank you very much. That concludes the press conference.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today in London here, we held our 5th E5 Defence Ministers meeting at what has become a significant moment in European security. We face a new era of threat. War in Europe, rising Russian aggression, and last night Putin hit a new level of hostility against Europe. We saw across NATO's eastern border a serious violation of Polish airspace, deep enough for Warsaw Airport to be closed, and NATO jets shooting down Russian drones in what is the first defensive action of its kind since Putin launched his full-scale attack on Ukraine. And just at the same period as Russia's attacks on Ukraine intensify. And as the Prime Minister Starmer said this morning, these moves, he said, only serve to remind us of President Putin's blatant disregard for peace. So together, we, the E5, totally condemn these attacks. Russians' actions are reckless, they're dangerous, they're unprecedented. We see what Putin is doing. Yet again, he is testing us. Yet again, we will stand firm. And Defence Minister Kosiniak-Kamysz rightly returned home to Poland in the very early hours of this morning to deal with this unprecedented situation. And we pay tribute to the Polish and NATO personnel involved in such a rapid and effective defensive action. And my message to Marcin and the Polish people is this. As your NATO ally, we will support you, our Polish friends. As your NATO ally, we will play our part to help secure the safety of your people. And following our discussions today, I've asked our UK armed forces to look at options to bolster NATO's air defence over Poland. Today, as E5 nations, we say to President Putin, your aggression only serves to strengthen the unity between our NATO nations. Your aggression only serves to strengthen our determination to stand with Ukraine. And your aggression reminds us that a secure Europe needs a strong Ukraine, and that the security of Europe starts in Ukraine. So I'm proud that the five of us were joined today by Ukrainian Defense Minister Shamal, as Ukraine remains at the forefront of our discussions. Following the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, which I chaired from London yesterday, with over 50 nations attended by Secretary General Mark Rutte and also US Secretary Pete Hegseth, we will continue to ramp up our support for Ukraine. Because we must not jeopardize peace by forgetting about the war, just as we plan for that peace through the UK-French coalition of the willing. And I know I speak for all of us when I pay congratulations to our good friend and colleague, Sébastien Lecornu, being named now as France's new Prime Minister. So in today's discussions, we also discussed our work together to counter Russia's malign influence in the Western Balkans. And in the week that our UK government published its defence industrial strategy, we discussed how we make defence an engine for growth across our economies. More cooperation, more joint production, more jobs in all of our communities. And we leave here today as E5 nations, Europe's top defence spenders, more united, more determined to confront this new era of threat, to step up further for Ukraine, and to continue to boost our defence spending as we increase warfighting readiness. We do this to make our citizens and to make Europe secure at home and strong abroad. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary of State. If we could ask the Italian Minister for Defence, Guido Crocetto.
Sì, grazie. Grazie John per la tua ospitalità. Oggi a Londra ci siamo incontrati con il formato E5, con ministri della difesa o rappresentanti dei ministri della difesa. Abbiamo iniziato condividendo un incontro col ministro ucraino che ha fornito un aggiornamento dettagliato sulla situazione sul campo e sulle priorità a breve e medio periodo, e abbiamo riaffermato la determinazione comune a sostenere l'Ucraina, il cui futuro è parte integrante, come diceva John, della sicurezza europea. Come E5 vogliamo rafforzare il pilastro europeo dell'alleanza in piena complementarietà con la NATO. Garantire che l'Ucraina possa raggiungere una pace giusta e duratura resta la nostra priorità. Sul piano della difesa europea è emersa la necessità di rafforzare la deterrenza e la credibilità della nostra capacità di difesa e sicurezza, intervenendo in settori chiavi come la cybersicurezza, la difesa aerea e missilistica. Come principali investitori europei nella difesa, ci dobbiamo impegnare a garantire le capacità critiche e dissuadere qualsiasi aggressore. Dai nostri alleati la difesa è considerata un prerequisito per l'esistenza di una nazione e di una democrazia. Noi come Italia ci dobbiamo ancora arrivare, perché per alcuni investire in difesa è una scelta antipacifista, mentre invece la difesa serve a garantire la pace. È stato concordato di operare in modo sinergico per potenziare la base industriale europea, rafforzando leadership tecnologica, resilienza, integrazione dei nostri sistemi. Questo impegno dovrà coinvolgere anche l'Ucraina se vogliamo integrarla e renderla interoperabile con il resto dell'Europa. Abbiamo rivolto un'attenzione particolare ai Balcani occidentali, area strategica per la stabilità regionale. Vogliamo sostenere e valorizzare le iniziative dell'Unione Europea e della NATO, rafforzare la sicurezza attraverso impegni operativi, esercitazioni e programmati. Dobbiamo essere un percorso rapido per la piena integrazione dell'intera regione nella NATO e nell'Unione Europea. Abbiamo deciso di ragionare insieme su una strategia per i Balcani omnicomprensiva da proporre alla NATO e all'Europa. È stata sottolineata l'urgenza di un salto di qualità e nelle nuove tecnologie, affrontando sia le opportunità sia i rischi, in particolare di fronte alle minacce ibride della disinformazione con l'adozione di strutture dedicate e approcci condivisi. Il lavoro proseguirà nei prossimi giorni con incontri tra i nostri staff per definire azioni concrete, risultati tangibili in linea con gli indirizzi che sono emersi oggi e negli altri incontri. Ringrazio ancora i miei colleghi, i loro rappresentanti, per l'impegno e la visione condivisa. Quanto discusso a Londra prosegue nel solco del precedente incontro di Roma e che mi auguro cui possa seguire un altro incontro a breve. Grazie.
Thank you very much. If I could ask Jens Plutner to provide his opening statement.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon also from my behalf. First of all, Minister, I want to thank you for your warm hospitality and excuse the absence of Boris Pistorius, who would have loved to have been here, but parliamentarian duties required his presence in Berlin. I do not want to repeat what two ministers said. I fully agree with the points they made, but I would like to add my own and Germany's own firm condemnation to yours about what happened in Polish airspace last night. It is unacceptable. It is a targeted provocation, and it is a provocation not only against our Polish neighbors, friends and allies, but against NATO as a whole. We stand altogether firm side of our Polish friends, and I think the message we would like to send is a message of strength, of unity, and of not letting us be provoked into hastened actions. It is good that this is being discussed now at NATO, and this must find a common answer of all of us to Moscow. About the meeting today, the substance has been exposed. Let me say that I feel that today we send a message of unity in our support, steadfast support for our Ukrainian friends. It's a very good discussion with Minister Shmihal, but also a message of unity when it comes to our own efforts to bolster our defense readiness and to work closer together in order to do so. This group of five, the fifth meeting, has proven from our point of view to be a catalyst for new ideas and a motor of change. And somewhat in that spirit, I would like to, on behalf of Boris Pistorius, extend an invitation to you, ministers, colleagues, for Berlin for the next meeting towards the end of this year. Thank you very much for your hospitality.
Jens, thank you very much. Alice Ruffo.
Thank you very much, Defense Secretary. Je vais dire quelques mots en français, and I will switch to English, pour vous remercier de la part de Sébastien Lecornu, qui n'a pas pu être là parce qu'il est devenu Premier ministre. Comme vous l'avez dit, merci pour vos félicitations et vos encouragements. Thank you for having me in this very important meeting. My minister was committed from the very beginning to this format, and I like the words used by Jens. It's a motto for NATO, for our European defense. It's very important to have this room to discuss strategically and to have this intention together. I will as well add that what happened yesterday in Poland was totally unprecedented and unacceptable. As mentioned before, our collective answer was effective, and we need to continue to work together. And of course, France stands ready to support you, and we are as well looking options in a coordinated way on reinforcing your air defense. On Ukraine, I think we had in 1 week and a half the meeting of the Coalition of the Willing at the leaders level, the UDCG with successful and concrete results. And I think what we had as well today showed that Europe is stepping up, ready to support Ukraine in the short term, ready to offer Ukraine security guarantees for the future and to achieve peace through strength, and that now Russia needs to understand that it should come to the negotiation table and stop this war. Thank you as well for the very good discussion on industry. We all are in face of the same issues, ramping up, accelerate, and I'm sure that we, with all this very pragmatic approach we had today, will do progress together. And thank you as well for the interest on the Balkans. I think it's important for this group to work together and to strategize on this region because we are very much committed through NATO and EU and bilaterally to the stability of the region. Thank you very much.
Alice, thank you very much. Marcin Kazniewski.
Thank you very much. And as you just heard from the Defense Secretary Healey, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Defense had to leave, unfortunately, had to skip the second day of the meeting due to the attack. I think it is the best way to describe it, the drone attack that took place last night. Over the meeting, we confirmed the importance Poland attaches to the E5 format as a platform for discussing issues of great importance for the European security, transatlantic relations. The war or the Russia's aggression of Ukraine and support or assistance for Ukraine. That was definitely confirmed. This is something that we want to, as a Poland, develop as I just said, as a platform for not only discussing things, but also looking for specific initiatives in the areas I just mentioned. When it comes to what happened over Poland last night, as you just heard, solidarity was expressed, conviction that we need more as an alliance, as a NATO. We need more coherence, more unity, that we should look also in practical terms how to make not only Poland, but all the flank countries better able to cope with the threats we had to cope with last night. And as it was also already mentioned, the response was collective in a manner, not only Polish assets, Polish aircraft, but also those of some other allies were involved in it, activated or used. And it is the best example of solidarity, of unity. And we, as a Poland, we want to discuss, we would like to discuss this issue further within the NATO framework to be sure that we as a NATO, that we are able to, that we will be able to in the future to respond to such threats in the best possible way. Thank you very much.
Marcin, thank you. Just a reminder, Marcin and Alice will not be answering questions, but the ministers will. Carl Dinnan.
Thank you very much. Carl Dinnan from ITV News. I'd like to ask the ministers, don't last night's events prove that ever since Alaska, everything that President Putin has done has shown that he's not negotiating in good faith, and that really the West shouldn't be talking to him in the absence of a ceasefire?
So while President Putin is talking to President Trump in Alaska, he's intensifying and escalating attacks on Ukraine. We have to help support Ukraine to resist that Russian invasion. We have to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position to go into any talks. And we have to work together to put pressure on Putin to do what he says. And what he says is he wants to talk. What he says is he wants peace. And whatever the intent behind yesterday's attacks on Poland, they were reckless, they were dangerous, they were attack on NATO airspace and on NATO sovereignty. And we will stand together and we will support Poland through NATO to resist those in the future.
Secretary of State, thank you very much. Can I ask an Italian journalist to ask a question? Luigi Ippolito.
Sì, Luigi Ippolito for the Corriere della Sera, question for the Italian Minister. Signor Ministro, i jet italiani si sono levati in volo per partecipare all'operazione di contrasto ai droni russi, anche se in una funzione, diciamo, di supporto, di ricognizione, almeno così ci è stato detto. Dall'altro lato il governo polacco dice che non siamo mai stati così vicini a un conflitto aperto in Europa. Ecco, in caso, diciamo, di allargamento delle operazioni, le forze italiane manterrebbero un ruolo di seconda fila di supporto o sono pronte a entrare in azione in prima linea battendo droni russi, aerei e quant'altro minacci la sicurezza europea?
Sì, grazie per la domanda. Gli aerei italiani fanno parte dei contingenti della NATO, fanno parte dell'alleanza e sono pronti a difendere ogni nazione che fa parte dell'alleanza atlantica, come ci aspettiamo ogni nazione difenderebbe l'Italia in caso di attacco. Il fatto di ieri è un fatto gravissimo, perché oltre 20 droni russi sono entrati sul territorio di un paese sovrano che fa parte dell'Europa e fa parte dell'Alleanza Atlantica. L'aereo italiano non si è alzato in volo, vola tutte le sere, è un KV, cioè un aereo radar che vola per segnalare eventuali minacce, lo fa regolarmente, fa parte degli assetti che abbiamo fornito all'Alleanza e gli assetti forniti all'Alleanza dipendono dall'Alleanza e l'utilizzo, se è necessario, è immediato. L'alleanza esiste per proteggere ogni paese alleato, siamo qua per ribadirlo, siamo qua per ribadire che entrare nello spazio aereo della Polonia significa entrare nello spazio aereo dell'Italia, del Regno Unito, della Germania, della Francia, di ogni paese dell'alleanza atlantica. Perché un'alleanza o è totale o non è. Ed è il messaggio forte che vogliamo lanciare a Putin. Io non so se sia stato un modo per testare le nostre difese o sia stata una provocazione, non ci interessa. La NATO e ogni nazione della NATO è pronta a reagire e si aspetta che le altre nazioni reagiscano se toccherà un'altra nazione della NATO. Questo è chiaro, su questo si poggia l'alleanza, su questo si poggia la nostra capacità di deterrenza e di difesa. Quindi è quello che faremo e che ci siamo impegnati a fare da oltre 70 anni e che continueremo a fare. Non cambia coi governi, è un impegno della nazione. Gli impegni delle nazioni sono diversi dai governi che passano.
Minister, thank you very much. Christoph Mayer.
Thank you, Chris Meyer, German press agency DPA. I have a question to Mr. Plötner. As we've just heard from your Polish colleague, he's expecting not only solidarity expressed in warm words, but also in practical terms. So my question would be, can you outline in practical terms what Germany can do to bolster, for example, Polish air defense? For example, are you considering sending more Patriot systems or IRIS-T to Poland? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. You know, on a very practical level, we have 2 Patriot batteries who are stationed with our Polish allies at the moment, which are fully integrated into the Polish air defense planning and picture. So I think that is a very concrete, not only by words, but by action, a very concrete contribution to the safety, security, and integrity of the Polish airspace. As the minister said, that is the second part of my answer, I think we will now, at NATO, discuss what we can jointly and collectively do to strengthen even further Polish airspace and the defense of that airspace, of the defense of the airspace at our eastern flank in general. So this will be an upcoming discussion, which I think will be very important. I want to add, until very short time, we had Eurofighters in Poland. It's a rotational basis. They are sometimes there, sometimes in the Baltic countries. So I think altogether, every one of us is really contributing in kind, and not only in words. When it comes to additional Patriot systems, you know, they are extremely scarce. and we have already given several to our Ukrainian allies and friends, partners and friends, and we are about to send another 2 systems to Ukraine. Now, this is a difficult choice we have to make. First of all, to give them up out of our own system, which is not easy to do, but we took that decision. And secondly, where to send them. And I think there collectively, we think that at the moment, given the murderous raids of the Russian military on Ukraine, they are best positioned in the future in Ukraine. But that does not mean that we are shying away from our responsibility to protect NATO.
Minister, thank you very much. Esther Webber.
Hi, Esther Webber here from Politico. I'd like to extend that question to the British Defence Secretary as well, in terms of anything else you can say about how we will be supporting Poland's air defences. And then also I wondered, in your eyes, does this represent a new phase of Russian aggression, and therefore one that requires a new phase of response from the Allies here?
Let me answer the second question and then the first question. The second question, we are in a new era of threat. NATO has recognized that with the unprecedented commitment to spend 5% on national security by 2035. That's 5% of all of our 32 nations signed up to that. As a UK government, we've increased our defence budget by £5 billion in this, our first year. And we've made a commitment to increase defence spending now by 2027 to 2.6% of GDP, with an aim to 3% in the next Parliament. This is the biggest increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War. How well we spend that is just as important as how much we spend, and that was part of our discussions today. And on the response to the overnight attacks on Polish airspace, Polish sovereignty and NATO airspace, I have asked the UK Armed Forces to look at options about how we can bolster that NATO air defence over Poland. We too are part of a regular air policing mission. Up until 6 weeks ago, we had 6 Typhoon jets, part of the British component to that NATO air policing mission over Poland, an extra 200 personnel. We have 300 UK personnel in Poland at the moment, reinforcing NATO's deterrence, as well as the Polish deterrence and defence as well. And we will do what we can as part of NATO, as part of a collective response that Poland has asked for from us, its NATO allies.
Thank you very much, Secretary. If I could ask Giorgia Scartoro.
Thank you. Rai, the Italian state broadcaster, for Minister Crosetto. Alla luce di questa escalation, l'Italia potrebbe modificare la sua posizione sulle forze di rassicurazione in Ucraina, oppure che contributo specifico darà il nostro paese, ad esempio, sulla guerra ibrida con la Russia?
Il nostro Paese ha confermato la collaborazione e l'offerta con i nostri caveat alla coalizione dei volenterosi. L'ha confermato il capo di Stato Maggiore, l'ha confermato il Presidente Meloni. Sapete perfettamente quali sono i caveat che ha messo l'Italia. Abbiamo continuato ad aiutare l'Ucraina con 12 pacchetti e stiamo verificando i possibili aiuti. Anche il fondo SAFE in parte sarà dedicato alla cooperazione di produzioni con l'industria ucraina. Il nostro impegno continua a essere forte e determinato con i nostri alleati. Ci sono alcuni temi, lei ha citato la guerra ibrida, sul quale occorre, a mio avviso, una riflessione chiaramente non pubblica con i nostri alleati, perché mentre la guerra fisica è evidente ad ognuno di noi e sono evidenti le bombe che colpiscono ogni giorno l'Ucraina, quindi tutti sappiamo e vediamo che la Russia è in guerra con l'Ucraina, Non parliamo mai del fatto che la Russia è in guerra anche con le nostre nazioni, perché gli attacchi cyber sono continui, centinaia di attacchi cyber ogni giorno che arrivano da hacker della Federazione Russa, così come continua da tempo una guerra ibrida sull'informazione o le fake news per indebolire le nostre posizioni o per fare dei racconti lontani dalla verità. E questo è un tema che secondo me prima o poi la NATO, l'Unione Europea e noi stessi, di cui abbiamo parlato anche noi stessi, dovremmo affrontare in modo serio, perché non si possono considerare gli attacchi cyber o gli attacchi di disinformazione o di guerra ibrida in modo diverso da come si considerano gli attacchi terrestri, navali o aerei. Sono sempre attacchi e rischiano di minare le democrazie in modo molto violento. Per cui questa è la realtà che ci date di vivere. Volevo aggiungere una cosa, dopo l'incontro che è stato citato prima dell'Alaska, quella che doveva essere la volontà di ricerca di pace da parte di Putin si è tramutata in un aumento esponenziale degli attacchi all'Ucraina. Mai ci sono stati tanti attacchi come quelli degli ultimi giorni. Qualcuno deve spiegarci qual è la via alternativa ad aiutare l'Ucraina a resistere. Se l'unica persona che ha in mano la possibilità di fare la pace, al posto di cercare di fare atti di pace, fa atti che non fanno che alimentare la guerra, come quello che è successo stanotte, che non è sicuramente un fatto che può rassicurare o migliorare le condizioni.
Minister, thank you very much. Could we have German broadcaster ZDF, Wolf Christian Ulrich?
Wolf Christian Ulrich für ZDF German Television. Herr Staatssekretär, wie sieht denn aus Sicht der Bundesregierung eine klare militärische Reaktion auf den Drohnenangriff auf Polen aus, dass der Putin dazu bringt, wirklich Respekt der NATO gegenüber zu zeigen? Und ist es jetzt Zeitpunkt endlich für den Taurus oder wie sieht die Bewertung da gerade aus?
Ich sehe jetzt keine Verbindung zur Taurus-Debatte. Der hätte diesen Drohnenangriff, glaube ich, nicht abwehren können. Aber ich will den polnischen Streitkräften danken für ihre entschlossene, aber auch besonnene Reaktion mitten in der Nacht über mehrere Stunden hinweg. Und ich finde auch der Schritt der polnischen Regierung auf Grundlage von Artikel 4 des NATO-Vertrages jetzt Konsultationen anzufordern in Brüssel einen richtigen Schritt. Wir müssen jetzt in der Allianz gemeinsam überlegen, wie wir dieser russischen Provokation, wie wir dieser gefährlichen Eskalation durch Moskau am besten begegnen, mit einer Botschaft der Stärke und mit einer Botschaft der Geschlossenheit, ohne uns dabei provozieren zu lassen. Und ich glaube, diesen Weg müssen wir finden, den müssen wir gemeinsam finden im Bündnis. Und dazu wird Deutschland, wie ich es vorhin ausgeführt habe, tut es ja heute schon substanziell, leistet es ja heute schon substanziell einen Beitrag zur Verteidigung des polnischen Luftraums. Das werden wir fortsetzen und, wenn möglich, ausbauen.
Minister, thank you very much. Max Colchester, Wall Street Journal.
Max Colchester, The Wall Street Journal. I just wanted to get on record from the ministers. Is your assessment that this was a deliberate attempt by the Kremlin to test NATO air defenses, what we saw last night? And there's some talk about the nature of hybrid war and how it's evolved. What do you do to counter this? How do you dissuade Putin from taking these increasingly belligerent steps against NATO allies? Because sanctions haven't worked, arming Ukraine hasn't worked. Where do you go next?
So these are still early hours since the attacks. There are conflicting reports, and there is no firm assessment yet about what lay behind the drone attacks or the intent. Whatever the intent, they were dangerous. Whatever the intent, they were reckless. And whatever the intent, they breached sovereign Polish and NATO airspace. And the right response is not just to look at ways that we can reinforce the strength of the air defense over Poland and NATO airspace, but how we can reinforce the pressure on Putin to end the Ukraine war. And that is going to require us working together, stepping up our military aid to Ukraine so it's in its strongest position to resist the continuing fighting, but also stepping up the other pressure, including economic pressure. And those are the part of the discussions that our leaders had, including with President Trump in the last week.
Minister, thank you. Marie Euclin, AFP.
I have a question for Mr. Healey, Defense Secretary. In a statement, Russia Defense Ministry denied any intention to engage in any target in Poland territory. Do you believe this statement? Are you convinced? Is it credible, according to you? And my question goes to other ministers, of course. Thank you.
Sorry, I missed the statement you were quoting to me. Could you repeat that?
The Russian Defense Ministry denied any intention to engage any target in Poland territory last night.
We'll make our own assessment. Together with our Polish allies and our other NATO allies, we'll make our own assessment that. But it should be no surprise to anyone that the first reaction from the Kremlin is to deny any responsibility, to deny any intent behind it. But we've seen in the escalating intensity of attacks on Ukraine, we've seen the rising level of aggression in Russia towards Ukraine and more widely. And tonight we saw a first of its kind into NATO airspace.
Thank you. Dan Saber, The Guardian.
Dan Saber from The Guardian. A question for the ministers. What was the Russian intention here? Do you think it was to divide NATO? And if so, what is the response? And then there seems to be only, I think, 3 or 4 of these of about 19 drones were shot down. That seems like quite a low proportion. Is that at all concerning? Is that something you're going to consider as you reflect on this?
We have a response from each of the ministers, and then we'll probably have one more question and close.
Well, first, our assessment